Welcome to the enchanting world of the Never Cross a Witch Bitch podcast. Prepare to be captivated as we embark on a thrilling journey into the realm of spirituality with our remarkable team of a distinctive energy mixture. Leading the way is Mitch Garlington, a gifted gay male witch, touring stage medium, and psychic tarot card reader. With a background in the competitive corporate world and experience as a Cher impersonator, Mitch brings a fresh and unique perspective to our discussions. Next, we have Lucy Locke, a former fundamentalist Christian missionary turned sex shop manager turned professional dog groomer turned psychic medium, trance channeler, and tarot card reader. Her incredible transformation into the spiritual world is truly inspiring. And last, but certainly not least, we have Carly Batten, a second-generation practicing pagan, intuitive oracle card reader, and spiritual mother to many. Carly brings a grounded approach and simple understanding to the complexities of spiritual living. Together, we form an unstoppable podcast as we delve into all things spiritual and the journey of life. Our mission is crystal clear: to spread the message that spirit embraces all and that each of us is on a spiritual path, whether we realize it or not. So buckle up and get ready for an exhilarating adventure with the Never Cross a Witch Bitch podcast. Please note that all ideas discussed and presented in this podcast are the personal opinions of the individual podcasters and do not necessarily reflect the views of each other or the viewers. Hi, y'all. Welcome to the 12th episode of Never Cross a Witch Bitch. I'm Lucy.
I'm Mitch.
And I'm Carly. Hello, everybody.
And we've been discussing for about a half an hour today of what we're going to talk about. And I think we have a myriad of different subjects, but we were going to start with like spiritual bypassing and what that is and some of the negativities and being a witch or what people do in witchcraft and so on and so forth. So who wants to get us started?
Oh, I don't know. We've got half an hour in. We should have pressed play before we started.
I know. We're all like, no, but we didn't shut up before. We didn't shut up before. Now we're like deer caught in headlights. We're all like,
yeah. Where's your press the record button?
Mitch has a cold, you guys. So if you see him picking his nose or snorting, he's not. There's no cocaine or anything like that. We're not gonna have any room.
No, nothing like that. I'm just
ignore his long fingernail on his pinky.
No, I'm just feeling a bit out of sorts. It's just it's that winter time, isn't it, and everything else.
You've had a rough couple of weeks, Mitch. You've had a rough couple of weeks, so
yeah,
it's been a bit of a roller coaster. I'm not going to lie. So spiritual bypassing, then let's start with that, and then we can digress elsewhere, can't we? So spiritual bypassing, well, it's really just like not owning the shit, isn't it? Really, in a nutshell, it's avoiding the healing work. It's avoiding the root problem of what really needs attention, and you see this quite a lot in readings. People will come to you, with a problem or wanting to know about something, and they feel very much that is the subject matter. But when you get kind of into the tarot or via spirit or whatever, very often you quickly realize that, well, actually it's something completely different that they're just avoiding. And when you bring it up, it's like they know, but they don't want to own it. So it's easier to sort of say, oh, this is the problem, when actually, no, it's something over here that you really need to sort of address or deal with. And it can be in a small way, it can be in a more exaggerated way. So you see it quite a lot in readings, and it's frustrating, I think, as a reader, because the tools are there and the road is able to be sort of walked, but you have to keep it real. You have to own your shit, don't you? We all do. We all have to own our shit.
And there's different types of spiritual bypassing, isn't there? So it's talking about you're talking about people, making them aware of sort of shadow work that they have to do, and a lot of people, as we know, we've all been there. You don't want to face up to the shit because it hurts, but you have to do that to be able to heal, to move forward. So there's a spiritual bypassing where, unfortunately, when you've given everybody the tools, it's up to the person who's sat in front of you who's had the reading to do that work. You can give them all the stuff and the pointers where to start, but it's down to them to do that. And then there's the spiritual bypassing when people aren't prepared to put the work in to get to places, like to be a medium. I want to be a medium. You're somebody, I want to do what you're doing, but they don't want to put in the finding where you are, moving forward, doing the meditation, possibly sitting on circle, possibly doing their own path of where they want to go. A lot of people don't want to do that, but they want the end goal.
Yeah.
I
Want
mean,
the easy fix, don't
is that yeah, there isn't an easy fix. I'm not saying spiritual paths are hard. They are, you just got to put the work in. Some people spiritual paths, they don't have a lot of shadow work to do. They've had sort of not an easy ride. That's the wrong word to say. I'm probably going to get slaughtered for that. But they've had a slightly childhood's been fine, there's no shadow work to do, good parental family, they've got all that. So they haven't got, but you've still got to put the work in to go where you want to go. So if you've got an end goal, you can't go, oh, I'm going to go, I don't want to do that bit, but I want the bit at the end. I want to do what Mitch is doing. I want to do what Lucy's doing, but I can't be asked to put the work in. Well, it ain't going to happen. It's like building a wall or building a house. I want to build that house, but I can't be asked to build the wall. Well, you're not going to have a house then, are you? It's it's that type of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, what came across my mind. Like, spirit always shows me things in pictures. Not always, but one of the ways is pictures. And when you were talking, Carly, and just when you were ending, Mitch, what came across my mind really strongly was seeing this kind of like garden, right? And that's like our internal being, this garden. And people, by spiritual bypassing, some people think they're doing the work, and all they're doing is picking the little weeds that are kind of easy to come out. You know how when you go into the ground, you just pick those green ones where the root just literally, no tugging, nothing.
just
You
pulls
can
out.
just
Yeah.
pull it out.
Yeah,
And they
yeah.
think that by looking at little things, but they're not, when they look up, there's this fucking huge tree. Does that make sense? With like roots going deep, and they go, no, I can't remove that, but I'll just pick all the little things, maybe of how I'm reacting to things and stuff like that, but they're not looking at why. Those types of weeds, they grow back fucking fast, 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 don't they? Right?
Mm.
But that tree, the root, getting to the roots, and one trauma can have, or one thing in your life can have many deep roots coming from it.
Mm.
To me, that's the joy. At first, I didn't like it, okay? When I came to a realization, oh my God, and that was like 25 years ago. In my late teens, I came to a realization. I've not had a good childhood. You know, it was not normal, or, whatever normal is. But I knew I had hurts, okay? And I started to do the little pulling of the weeds because that's all I knew what to do, you know? But life brought me to a point where it was like, oh, I've got to stare at the tree. I've got to deal with this tree because I'm repeating the same patterns in my life over and over and over again. Different people, same patterns.
Mm.
Um, and I always blamed it on the people. Oh, I just attract these type of people. Well, there's a reason why I attract these types of people. Is because I got this big freaking tree that they see in my life. Does that make sense? That my energy is like attracting these types of people.
Yeah.
We all want to feel good. That is nature. We want to feel good. We don't want to feel the bad stuff. But to me, spiritual maturity and just being a mature as a person, even people that aren't into spirituality, you can have this spiritual maturity is being uncomfortable, or sorry, being comfortable with really uncomfortable feelings. Knowing
Mm.
that those feelings are going to pass. You're not trying to get rid of them. You're not trying to douse them in something. You're not trying to, you know, ignore them. You're feeling them and you're letting them flow through your body till they go. Because what
Yeah.
happens is we dilute a lot of feelings. We push down a lot of feelings.
Mm.
If we're feeling bad, we'll go for a few drinks and try to like ignore the thing. When actually feelings don't last more than 90 seconds, usually in their fullness. They might go on for 20 minutes in waves through you. But if you can ride that out and get your body used to, and your brain used to, used to, comfortable being uncomfortable.
Mm.
That is fucking freedom.
Mm.
Things
I
don't,
wonder what it. I
you're
wonder.
not scared of life after that when you realize those feelings
Mm.
aren't going to kill you.
Mm.
Mm.
their feelings.
It's getting to that point, isn't it? It's getting to that point as a human being on that path, that particular path of the penny drop moment, isn't it? Of realizing that. Funny, this has come up just recently, actually, with a conversation with a friend of mine. Um, and they split up with a partner, and the partner is, I think she's about a little bit older than me. Um, and you can see that they are the partner that called time. They are not comfortable with who they are, and sort of push those thoughts and feelings onto this other person. But that other person is actually very grounded. They like to walk a lot. They're very much out in the elements. They're not on the yogurt weaving path, as my other half calls it. So they're not, you know, all that voo-voo, as he calls it. But they're very aware of who they are, and they have said, I'm not going back. I'm not going back there. I'm done with that. But looking at the partner that called the time, they are very immature when you look at them and how they're reacting and not talking through or not facing what is in front of them. They didn't even have a conversation with the person they split up with. They just sent them a text message. They went out to work, sent them a text message and said, I'm done. I want you out the house. I mean, I know there's always two sides to a story. Don't get me
But
wrong.
that
I mean,
just there, you just saying
know,
that there, Carly, that shows me that that person has something in their life where they're scared
mm,
of that confrontation. They're scared of being true to their voice,
exactly what I said.
right?
Exactly what I said. Yeah, she's scared. They're scared of confrontation generally as well, so they wouldn't have that conversation of, I think there's something wrong in the relationship. Can we address it? Can we sort it? They didn't even want to do the actual physical side of it, let alone the emotional and spiritual side of it. I use the term loosely, but the
Or if
spiritual
they were ready
comforting
to leave,
themselves.
just even coming to the person and being honest with them. I've come to a
Mm,
Mm.
point in this
mm,
relationship where
mm,
I don't feel I can go on,
mm,
Because
mm.
that's
and
kind, then, isn't it? To let someone
I
go
think
with
that's
love.
kindness. I think that's
Yeah,
kindness. Remember how we talked
yeah.
before about being nice and kind, right? Sometimes
Mm.
kind
Mm,
hurts, but it's still done in love, if that
mm,
makes sense, and
mm,
Yeah.
care. That is very rejecting a text, like after you've been intimate with
mm.
someone numerous amounts of time. I don't know how
Yeah.
long they were
Oh, it
together,
was.
but a
Yeah,
text
yeah,
that's
yeah,
like that, that's just
I'd be
degrading.
pissed. I'd be
Yeah.
pissed enough.
Same
yeah.
with me.
They
And Mitch would be
the
hearing
person
about
that
it. I'll
received
tell you.
the text, yeah, the person that received the text was very, very pissed off, and I don't,
And
I
she has
don't
every,
blame
or
them. I mean,
her,
as I say, I
her or
know there's
him
two
has
sides to
every
everything.
right to be. Yeah. Oh, there
Mm.
is,
Yeah,
but we
yeah.
each have to
But
stand in our own truth. Like sometimes, like with my healing, someone might have disagreed with my truth and my healing. So let's say I had a sister or a brother that I felt hurt me. They might have not felt they've hurt me or that it was that big. That's
mm,
okay. It has nothing to really actually do
yeah,
with them. It has to do with the belief system that I was carrying about that. Right? So reality
mm,
healing has
mm,
little to do. It has like you have to put things in perspective with people around you that have hurt you. But the reality is that the healing has little to do with the person. It has to do with the belief system that you gained from what happened
mm,
that has been negative in your
mm,
life about yourself or about
mm,
things in this world and how you perceive them. And
mm,
Yeah,
that's really
mm,
what healing's all about. And that's people are
I think
mm,
the
scared
other,
because they think they have to blame someone. And it's like, not really.
yeah,
mm,
definitely. I was going to say, I think the other thing with the healing, there's this real myth of like, if you get to a space where you're considered healed, people think that everything should be perfect, and life can still be hard work. It can still be complicated, and life isn't perfect. And I don't think we are ever the finished article in this lifetime, and I don't think we are when we're in the spirit world. But it doesn't trigger you to the same depths as it
Hmm.
once did, perhaps. That's the
What
healing, isn't
no,
it?
that's what
yeah,
I've noticed that the sorry, that with healing in my life, because I'm big on it. Okay, I love it. This is what my career is. I love it, love it, love it. And for me, the healing in my life is seeing the evidence that when hard times hit me, I'm not reacting like I did 10 years ago, 5 years
Mm.
ago.
mm,
It's not devastating my life. It's not devastating. I still cry, but I look at crying as healthy and a release. Get it out of me. I look at it as the
Mm,
body's release. Um, but do I cry as much? No. You know what I'm saying? My emotions are just a lot more even keeled. I still get angry, but do I get as angry as much? No.
Yeah.
My anger is really tapered down because we all have different things that we trigger and we react out of. And for me, it was like
mm,
anger, anxiety. Things would cause me great anxiety because my brain just couldn't handle what was going on because I had other traumas in my life that my brain was
mm,
still trying to deal with. And once I dealt with the traumas that had happened, I noticed that there's there's the anxiety is just whew, because I've had more confidence that I can deal with things that life brings me when I didn't have confidence before. I just felt like
Yeah,
life was just
definitely.
fucking punching me around. Like that meme I put up, if anyone saw it, for those out there, what was it? The world eats me up and spits me out, but I'm like a piece of corn. I'm a piece of
Oh yeah.
corn. I just keep on going. And I'm like proud to say I'm a piece of corn. So I'm not scared of things eating me up and spitting me out because I know I'm going to come out whole. You know what I'm saying? You'll be able to see me.
Well, it's
And
like I
so,
had a message like Lucy a few days ago. So like when obviously like I got the news of my nan passing, and I haven't cried, and I still haven't cried, and I sort of said to Lucy, "Do you think this is normal that I'm not crying?" And you were like, "Yeah, it's absolutely fine. It's just your way of processing the healing, isn't it?"
mm,
100%.
Whereas a lot of
mm.
people are quite shocked that, oh my God, you've known this lady all your life and loved her all of your life, yet you're not shedding a tear. I think I'm a little bit like the Queen because she was known for not crying, but like,
Well, the thing is that we have these societal pressures of what things should look like when
yeah,
maybe we're not like that.
Mm,
Does that make sense? So,
mm,
I've watched, I've seen people be healed through counseling and stuff like that, and then I've watched many videos on people being healed, and you'll get the criers, and they're really like over dramatic about the healing that's happening in their life. They're crying out the pain, and then you'll have people that are sitting there in meditation, and you're thinking, oh, nothing's going on here, and boy, oh boy, internally things are going on, but they don't
yeah,
show
they
it.
don't show it,
mm,
sort of thing.
mm,
Yeah, and
So
and I think also, like for me, yes, it's awful that my nan's passed over, but she was elder. She was 92. She'd had her time. She'd had a really cool life, and she was
Well, you
ready to
told me
mm.
you
go.
said goodbye
But
many times before she passed over, so it was kind of like,
yeah, this was just
just,
the
Yeah,
processing.
you've done
yeah,
done your bit
Yeah,
of crying, yeah, grieving.
yeah,
I mean, I did the same. My grand passed away, same thing. She's about 93, and I got a little bit choked up at the funeral and things like that. But when she passed, do you know what? She hasn't gone, and I know she
mm,
hasn't gone. So whilst it wasn't a shock, but it was a shock. It's the same sort of thing, Mitch. We knew she was going, um,
yeah.
but when she went, I knew she hadn't gone because she came down the ponies with me because the ponies would like started like looking around, and I went, "Oh, I know who's here." And my gran, she always used to come to the ponies when I was a kid, and she was there. She's not very far. Every now and again, this Cockney accent squeaks into my head. You know, here, Gertrude, you dirty bugger, or something will come out, and I'll go, "Oh, something will react in something I do, and I get this real strong
you feel her
Cockney
energy. Yeah,
feeling coming through.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So in a way, whilst I don't have a conversation with her on a Saturday, or randomly ring her when I'm walking up the hill from the pub, that sounds like I'm in the pub all the time cleaning it. Um, I just, yeah, I'm like Mitch. I did my bit, but I didn't, it wasn't overly because I know she's not gone very far. So in a
yeah.
funny way, same thing. Yeah.
I had someone the other day talking to me about they were struggling a bit with that they are quite a spiritual person. They live quite a spiritual life. And they've had someone pass away, but the person, it wasn't a natural, like it was natural that it was diseased, but they were, I think, youngish, you know. So, quite traumatic in that way. But this person was saying to me, I'm spiritual and I feel guilty that I am crying and missing. And this person's a medium. And they're like, I bring through, I know this person's on the other side, but I am like sitting here just absolutely in gutted and in grief. And I feel like I shouldn't be. And I'm like, no, you're human. You're human,
And
even
that's
though
your
we
human
know,
side.
like my grandfather, my grandfather died at almost 101. And he wasn't very sickly before he died. He golfed 3 days before he died. He in my mind, like I knew he was going to pass away naturally, that's nature one day. But there was this part of me that he lived through so much that I almost considered him immortal, But I love the man dearly. And I know inside of me he's on the other side. But when he passed, oh my God, because of the relationship we had, because of how special he was to me and how much he taught me in life and just whatever. I even now when you were talking about I started thinking about him and I get teary-eyed and it's been 6, 7 years, and but that's just natural. And I'm not going to question it. And I'm not going to beat myself up over it. I've learned to try to stop doing that and just let it be and feel the emotion.
Definitely.
And realizing that grief is actually really love. Because he comes back all the time to me through every medium I've ever been to or crossed paths with. It's my grandfather that's there. And he's made it well known he's not leaving my side, but I miss him in the flesh. Does that make sense? I do.
Yeah. You
I
miss
miss his
that
energy in the
physical
flesh.
body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I miss him, his energy. I watch videos of him and I just miss his presence, and I think that's natural and normal. And I actually quite like that I feel that way too. I don't look at it as a victim thing. I look at it as a love. Yeah. So interesting.
Definitely.
Interesting. But yeah, we do, all of us spiritually bypass. You know what I'm saying? And that can be a blind spot for all of us. It's until you really notice the tree or the trees. Like I had a
and that
really
links quite nicely into the magic. Yeah, I was going to say, like, it links into the magic side that we were talking about as well, doesn't it? About how we see this a lot in witchcraft and obviously, magic and all of that stuff. I mean, we were talking earlier about curses and hexes, and that's really could be seen as a type of spiritual bypassing, isn't it? If you want to sort of, if you're wanting to hex somebody, essentially you're wanting to inflict a level of pain or discomfort or trickiness into someone's life, and what is that really about?
I mean, that's a seed we were talking about. Obviously, earlier on we were talking about the seed planter. So we were talking about, the little old Romany gypsy comes up to you in the high street. Not that it happens very often, but I know that it has done. And you cross my palm with silver, you can have this bunch of lavender, and they will say when you go, oh no, I'm okay, thank you very much. They then plant the seed. Oh, well, 3 years bad luck, because they're then seed planting that into your head, into your subconscious. That then everything that goes away, like when she goes away, everything that happens from there on in, if like you drop a cup of tea on the floor, you go, oh, it's because I'm hexed and cursed. You're subconsciously playing into that. Because she's not taken. There's people, we were saying earlier on, there are people that will take that vision of somebody and direct a negative energy towards them. But I can tell you now that the lovely little Romany gypsy is not going to take a vision of your face and individually direct that negative energy into all those people. And be all right if I could talk, wouldn't it? Direct that negative energy into everybody that says, no, I don't want a piece of Heather. That's physically not going to be worth her while, is it?
She's guilting you. You have to just look at it. She's guilting you. She's scaring you into buying it.
Yeah, she is.
Sounds like a bit of a dick.
Exactly. I'd be like,
she's just trying to. I don't think she, this is like years ago. I don't think she's trying to make a living like anyone else, but playing on that, with a basket and a long skirt and a hoop to earrings, typical tarot
Well, she's
reader.
yeah.
Um, you know, there's the storyteller, tarot reader. I'm not saying that. Let's change the terminology. I'm not saying that negative energy input directed towards another person, as I know it's a bit more long-winded than hexes and curses, but basically is what it is. Excuse me. I'm not saying it's not possible, but I also say that part of that is a play on the mind, like you're paying into it, like you're planting that seed.
Yeah, you're hexing
You know,
yourself.
yeah. So you're if you turn around, you're never going to direct a negative energy towards. Well, I know some people do, and say direct a negative energy towards somebody without saying anything, because it's not going to have its full on effect if you're that way inclined. Do you know what I mean? So if someone says,
I just think it says a lot about the hexer. You know, when you're into hexing and you're into putting negative energy on someone, it says a lot about you.
I think, you know, if you're really comfortable with yourself, if you have 12 people hexing you. Oh, go on, sorry.
You just slightly froze. You had a buffer face.
Sorry, my internet went unstable for a second. Yeah, my internet went unstable for a moment. Sorry. But I wasn't talking.
Buffer face.
Oh, that's really weird. Yeah, I was just going to say, you could have like 12 people hex you, and it doesn't really mean anything unless you buy into the hex, does it?
100%. It's all perception. It's all perception. If you buy into the energy, that energy is going to be into your life. If you put a mirror up and reflect that energy back, that person will feel, hopefully, what they're feeling, or the energy will just dissipate. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
But when I really believe, if you buy, perception is everything, and we don't realize this as people. Some people do. Don't get me wrong. Sorry, but a lot of us don't. And I went through years of just feeling crap and thinking that was real and that I deserved that somehow. I've had people not hex me, but say very negative things about what they think my future will hold about me, and it fucked me up. Like when I was back, and I don't think it has anything to do with being a Christian or being a witch or anything like that. I think it can happen in day-to-day life, but it happened in the Christian community, and it's happened a few times in the Christian community. It's also happened to me in the spiritual community here. I've had some bad tarot reads. Mitch knows about a couple of them, but I've had some bad tarot reads.
Not mine, I'd like to say.
No, Mitch, no. I've had tarot reads where people have told me someone close to me and they've given a specific is going to pass away, and that person's not even sick. You know, and that can put a lot of fear. And I thought, what do I do with this? Because some of the stuff they said resonated in the read, and then that was like, oh my God, right? And I had to come to conclusions. Well, I can just love that person to death and start to fix whatever's going on in that relationship that I feel is negative, you know what I'm saying, and healing and stuff like that, so that I can have a better relationship if they're going to go. But there's been no sign of them going. But it put a lot of fear in me for a couple of weeks. I had to go to different, Mitch was one of them, and I went to my circle and just kind of, we did some breaking of it and stuff like that, because it just sat with me and it didn't feel like, it was really gross. And another person say that to email me out of the blue saying that spirit had shown them that I was going to be in a car crash with 2 kids that were going to die. And I was fucking horrified. I was horrified. I've never, ever even there.
Gosh.
You know,
but
and they were
it's like,
there's no point. Why would you tell me that? Why would spirit want to tell me that?
Exactly.
Because it makes it every time I get into a car and I have Minnie or one of her friends or anything like that, but I'm not. I got over it. Does that make sense? Spirit really showed me, and that showed me that level of maturity in me, because 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that would have sent me a borderline to mental hospital, because I would have been so anxious about this spirit, this God in control, having this absolute control over me, when spirit is showing me over and over how much control I have in my life. And how much control I have over, yes, bad things happen, but I have control over how I respond, how I feel. I do. And a lot of people don't realize that. Am I perfect? No fucking way. You know what I'm saying? And there's part of me that likes, I like some of my imperfections. I'm learning to, you know. But yeah, this person told me I was supposed to go to Bible college to become a preacher. That was my aim in life, to become a pastor of a church. So I got accepted into Bible college after high school. But I met a bunch of people, and reality was I was going to go to Bible college to become a pastor that traveled and did missionary work. I met a group of people, and I bypassed. I met a group of missionaries that asked me right like about a week before I was supposed to go to Bible school, asked me if I would join their missionary team. I was 17 at the time. That's crazy to think about. Join their missionary team in Canada and travel around and do missionary work. And I was like, yeah, I had a major crush on one of the people in the group. I'll tell you that right now. And I thought, I'm going to marry him. Like, and I was 17, but someone told me, and they went to this particular Bible school. They told me that God told them, if I do this, my life will crash and burn. Okay. It didn't go well for me. I ended up.
So you thought,
I mean, it didn't go well for me until a few years ago. And I felt all those years that God was punishing me for not going to Bible school.
that's heavy, isn't it?
It's crazy, that one comment. And that person probably doesn't even remember saying that comment to me. Sat and grew a forest in my body. Does that make sense? Every bad thing that happened, I thought it was a consequence of that one mistake. Or it wasn't even a mistake, that choice that I made. And so it scared me into making any kind of choices that involved spirituality, my life. It's just been recently that I've entrusted myself that manifesting this house was really the first time in a big way that I worked with spirit. Because I just was, I've had to work through years of being terrified that something, if I didn't do it exactly right, I was going to be punished. And it doesn't work that way at all. Spirit has shown me they don't work that way at all. That was my perceptions. I had negative things happen in my life, but I also had low self-esteem and put myself into a lot of situations that attracted lower energy. And I had a lot of problems, but I put that on God. Oh, this is a punishment. This is a curse on my life for making that decision. And it was the wrong perception. Spirit showed me it was a perception that wasn't reality.
It's interesting, isn't it? Now you were saying about the words, like obviously with witchcraft, spells, that's why they call it spells, doesn't it? Words carry power, essentially. How you use good or bad, light or dark, right or wrong. I think with any type of magic, it goes back to just be decent, just work from the heart, and think as well when you're doing something. Would you want this done to yourself? Like when we were talking about hexes earlier, for me, if someone says, "Oh, I've placed black magic on someone," I think, what a waste of your energy, what a waste of your resources. I don't understand who gains from that,
And you've got to think of it. I was talking about sort of the terminology of buying in. If people think about it amplifying, so if you think about plugging into an amplifier, so if you're receiving that, you're going to amplify what somebody has planted a seed in. It's like watering it, isn't it? And watering a seed, you water and the bloody tree grows. So you water that acorn. I'm a great, Bardware, we love an acorn. But obviously we turn that into a positive thing. So from small acorns mighty oaks grow, don't they? But if you manage to turn that into a negative thing, imagine planting that seed and that negative amplifying to that. It's crazy. So when Mitch is talking about buying in, he's talking about amplifying it and feeding that emotion, and that's what it is. But you can also feed a positive emotion as well. You can feed a positive thing, so you can amplify that. And we were talking earlier about just being a decent person, and the law of threefold. Obviously, that's Wiccan, which, when you read the Wiccan Read, which is a very modern following religion, it's more a following than a religion, but it says about what you give out comes back threefold. Basically, it then falls into the same terminology on the Christian side of things: love thy neighbor, treat people how you wish to be treated. And as Mitch very brilliantly said, don't be an arsehole. And that's what it is. It's just don't be a bloody arsehole. Because if you put that out to somebody, um, they're going to treat you how you've treated them. I mean, and this is not that I'm a marriage counselor, but if you're in a partnership, if you snap at your partner, they'll snap back. And they're treating you how you're treating them. And I mean, I'm a great one for saying to people, breathe. If you take a deep breath, if you're feeling a bit agitated in life generally, if you take a deep breath, when you breathe out, then talk. So if you're feeling a bit het up and you need to answer somebody and it's nothing to do with why you're feeling het up, there's another reason. Just be really cautious of how those words come out. So as you take a deep breath, as you breathe out, then answer what you were going to say, like, oh, where's the washing up, darling? Or, where's my boxer shorts? Or if you feeling agitated, you go, oh, they're in the cupboard. And then your partner would go, don't snap at me. I'm not snapping at you. And it escalates, so you're amplifying it. So if you take a deep breath, you're feeling a little bit pigged off. I don't know, the kids have been naughty or you've stood in dog shit when you've been out walking. So you're a bit pigged off when you walk in the door. And your partner says, where's my boxer shorts? You take a deep breath and go,
You wipe
they're
the
in the
bottom of your
wardrobe.
shoe with them. Here they are.
Yeah, you wipe bottom. Here they are. Don't be an arse. Have them back.
Sorry.
But if you take a deep breath and go, oh, they're in the cupboard, what actually happens is you're speaking and breathing out. You actually lower your tone of voice, and your agitation in your voice actually descales. So your agitation that you're personally feeling because you stood in dog shit and the kids are playing you up won't then portray and amplify on your person. So that's a perfect example of showing how I'm going to use rabbit ears. Hexing can plant a seed and then the other person receives it and amplifies. And that's in everyday life. Everyone can relate to what I've just said with their partners, but it's a great one to remember just how things can amplify when a seed's planted. And just don't be an ass. I mean, it's a thing in magic. Don't be an ass. But also, if you're doing magic and you're casting a circle and you're putting something out there and your affirmation, remember it will be amplified because of the energy you're putting into it. You're putting in that intention. You're amplifying that because you're putting the energy in. So you just be aware of, like everything, be aware of what you're putting into the world because it will come back and bop you on the nose just by asking where your underpants are.
Yeah. The hexing thing, I like, I've done a lot of, we were talking about this before. I've done, like, why are you hexing? I've done a lot of cord cutting, a lot, where people, I look at it like the Eight of Cups, tarot card. What no longer is serving me. You know what I'm saying? It's emotionally draining, whatever. And it's been a pattern of being emotionally drained. And the person is kind of on the peripheral of your life. Does that make sense? But they're emotionally draining you. And it's I've had it where maybe it would cause more problems to try to like talk to the person and heal the situation because it's like a history going on there. But they're on the peripheral of your life. I've done cord cutting in love, but you send it with love. And I might have anger at the moment. The anger leads me to the good. Anger can lead to good. It kind of is a fire. It fuels you on, if you choose to let it do that. So I've done where I've had enough. Do you know what I'm saying? I've had enough. I've had enough. It's draining me. I've had enough. Where I've done cord cutting, I've done like candle and burn, I love candle magic. It's easy for me. I can put my energy. It works for me really well. But I've done hoodoo where I've written it down, and done the flushing of the toilet, that kind of thing. But I've done it in love where I'm like, I don't want, and I know that from my heart, I don't want anything bad to happen to this person. I don't have any revenge in me. And that's one thing about, maybe it's my sign or something like that. I've had a lot happen to me in my life, and a lot of people take advantage of me and hurt me and stuff like that. And it's a two-way street in the sense that I put myself in some scenarios due to just where I was in the season of my life, not having great self-worth, self-love, boundaries, all that kind of stuff. I'm not blaming, I'm just taking responsibility for where I was in my life, but they still took advantage of me. I've never had revenge. It's funny. I've just never had, I want to get back at that person. It's
Mm.
something that is like Mitch was saying a few weeks ago, jealousy is quite foreign to him. Revenge is very foreign to me.
Yeah.
It's something I don't understand. I know people that do get bitterness and revenge in their life. But, and I'm not saying I'm better than them by any means, because I have other shit in my life. Does that make sense? But the hexing and stuff like that, inside of me, I don't understand it.
Well, hexing and curses come from revenge and jealousy.
Mm-hmm.
So whether or not you're a witch that someone has approached to hex someone or curse someone, because that paying customer wants to get back at someone, it's jealousy, it's revenge.
I've
You
had
know,
that before where someone's messaged
yeah.
me and they've said, "Oh, will you cast this particular spell?" And I said, "No, I won't cast that type
No,
of magic because for
no,
me, it will just cause more problem. I don't see where the good comes in from that."
no,
And
no.
it
I
affects
mean,
other people's lives, not just
yeah,
the
Yeah,
it
person
does
that you're
affect
dealing
other
with.
people's
Because Mitch and
lives.
I were talking a while ago, and I was I decided to do more cord cutting, but I was really angry about something. I was really angry about a particular person and what they were doing in my life, right? And he said, "Well, we could do this. I forget what you called it, a sour pot or something like that." And
oh yeah,
Yeah.
in the moment of anger, I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." And both of us, we didn't do anything that night. You know what I'm saying? And we woke up the next morning, and I thought, that's gonna, I don't want to see anything happen in his life bad, and I don't want to affect anyone else around him. And you woke up and you texted me and said, I don't feel it's right to do because it would affect the people around him,
yeah,
and we don't want it. But in that moment, yes, it was like, yes, but we didn't even have the tools for it at that time because it takes a lot to like
Mm,
preparation. And that's probably good about these
mm,
things is it takes preparation to do some of these hexings, and hopefully in that time frame you're going, nah, I don't feel good about this. And
yeah.
and
mm,
and I've never hexed anyone, but in that moment I was so angry, and Mitch could feel my anger. Does that make sense that we went, yeah, let's do it. And then we went, no.
mm,
We came to our senses and went, no. And that I think is maturity. And it would have affected people that this
That you
person
love,
cares
you
about and
care.
that I care about. Yeah,
mm,
a lot. And
mm,
so, no, there is
Yeah, it's magic.
consequences.
Yeah, it's magic with a moral compass, isn't it? And then it's sort of
Mm.
having to weigh up the pros and cons and think, actually, what are we gaining from this long term, really?
mm. It makes you wonder, sort of like, I'm gonna turn it slightly off down a rabbit hole. Off we go. Um, I'm wondering, off we go. Come along, hoppity hop. I'm just wondering, we're talking about, obviously, we spoke about sort of, God and the devil and the alter ego and Father Christmas and Krampus. I'm wondering, as you guys were talking, obviously witches stem from the wise women in the villages, obviously history. They were then singled out and, you know, sold off and bought in. You got paid for dobbing in somebody who was technically speaking a witch. Um, I'm wondering if the hex side of things was created by people of the wise women, so wise women of the village, so we were left alone, or so that people did leave us alone, or maybe a case of they were left alone. People say, "Oh, don't go near her. She's a witch. She's going to curse you." Is it a thing that has come through history? It's not a modern thing. Has it come through history where
It
you
was like a
obviously get?
protection of it in the beginning stage.
Yeah. Was it something that the wise women or the wise people of the village created so that they got left alone? It's like, if you come near my house, I'm going to curse you. Or is it something that has been created so that we can still be singled out and prosecuted? It's quite an interesting thing because obviously that's now escalated into the modern society of what we've got now, where people, I'm gonna hex you for running away with my partner, blah 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 blah, and you get all the jealousy and revenge stuff going on. I'm just wondering at what point did this stem off to have this? Because witches, wise women, wise men of the village, medicine men, medicine women, as we know, Indigenous Americans, Indigenous Australians still have their medicine women and men who are highly regarded in their country, their country and their ways. They're still highly regarded, but in Western civilization, they were singled out, and they were, unless of course, obviously, you're Queen Elizabeth's sidekick, then it's a different matter. But working class people were singled out. It was also a matter of class. So I'm just wondering if it was something created then, or is it something that's now escalated to where it is now?
I think it has a lot to do with religion. So with Christianity, the higher ups had all the power. The people that went to church, some of them, they weren't even allowed to read the Bible. They kept people illiterate so that they could read the Bible to them, right? So what is a witch? A witch is a person that takes power, uses energy. That's hundreds and thousands of years ago. That would have been a threat to the hierarchy, right? And the reality is witches showed we can use power for good and for protection, for bad, for whatever, which is the reality. You can transfer energy into really low energy, really low vibrational energy by what you're feeling, by how you're feeling, or you can through healing and through practice and stuff, you can raise your energy to be a high level energy where you're dealing with mostly the good stuff. You know what I'm saying? Or high loving vibration. Witches were a threat. They were a threat to the masses, or to not the masses, to the government system, and because the government system was
a threat to the system. Yeah, something they didn't know.
And it's independence, and they didn't like independence.
We've spoken before about, in a way, Jesus being sort of like a type of witch, healer, magician,
And that people,
they will never say that. We were talking about that, Mitch, where there's so many healing stories, okay, of Jesus. For the blind man, what did Jesus do? He spit in the dirt and mixed his spit with the dirt and put it on the man's eyes and healed him so that he could see.
Yeah, that's magic. That's witchcraft.
That's 100% healing, magic. Yeah. Oh, did I think about that 20 years ago? No. Who were the wise men that followed the star to where Jesus was born? That's astrology.
Astrologers. Yeah.
Who brought frankincense, myrrh, and what's the other one? I should know this. I always get this one mixed up. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Frankincense and myrrh.
Yeah.
Crystals and incense.
Crystal and incense is what we use in our spirituality.
That's quite good for when you want to have a bit of gay sex. Like, just to say, it can be burnt.
I'll tell you something about the gay thing too. Is Jesus never brought it up? That's Old Testament. Okay, and the point of the Bible is the Old Testament was the old rule, and then Jesus came and said, no, this is the new rule. Right? Love your neighbor as you love yourself. We're going to take all these commandments and all these rules, and we're going to break them down into 2 rules. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul. So love your energy, your world around you, your thing, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. Love yourself, and then you'll love your neighbor. Right? Those are the things. He took all these thousands of rules of don't eat pig's feet, don't have gay sex, and probably back then, I'll tell you, maybe having sex like that, like anal sex back 2,000 years ago, when you didn't have cleaning facilities and stuff like that, it might have been a bit dangerous. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's unnatural or wrong, but maybe there was things that happened that people got sick, and then they made a rule of it or whatever. And then they made it into evil and blah, blah. Anyway, this is just me going off on one. One of the things that Jesus, I love stuff about Jesus because I'm learning that he is not what I was taught, big time. There's a story in the Bible about a Roman centurion or someone coming to Jesus, and they were saying, I've walked many miles or whatever, I've come many miles. Don't quote me on this, but I know the gist, and I can pick it out if someone wants to call me on it. But he went to, and he said, and they changed the word. Okay, they changed the word in the Bible, but it actually meant his lover or boyfriend. Okay,
Okay.
is ill. Can you heal him? And he was like 100 miles and miles away. And Jesus said he is now healed. Jesus didn't question him about his sexuality, didn't question him about what he was doing, didn't question him on what type of person he was. Nothing. He said he's
Mm.
healed.
Mm.
You know, it there's a documentary they've been trying to make for years where they put the word home when they were translating the Bible, I think they're calling it 1944. So they were doing a translation of the Bible. It was the first translation of the Bible that came out stating homosexuality when it actually wasn't. Homosexuality was not the word, and this guy was like fighting it, saying, "Don't you do this? It's going to kill. Like this is going to cause mayhem, and people are going to be killed
Mm.
over you translating this word into homosexuality. It's not homosexuality. It was men that sleep with young children.
Oh gosh.
Was the actual term. It was pedophilia
Right.
is the
Okay. Yeah.
term
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Jesus, and that's one thing Jesus spoke about in the
Mm.
Bible was it's better to put rocks around your neck and drown yourself than hurt a child. And he meant pedophilia
Mm.
or take the innocence of a child.
Mm.
So, that's the only thing he spoke about on any
Mm.
sexual term.
Nothing else. Everything else has been created by whatever's come after that writing, and the
Because
Bible.
a lot of the
Everything else has come
translations
after
had to
that,
do
hasn't
with
it?
what's going on in government and politics at the time
Mm. And
and
who
not
had
going back to,
control and
yeah,
what
and not
was
going back to the
controlling.
true Hebrew and Latin. We've gotten way off on a tangent, but I just want people to understand the
Oh, I
beauty
told you we'd go
that
down a
of,
rabbit hole.
yeah, like I have Callie behind me, two pictures of her. She's scary looking. I
Yep.
don't do much goddess stuff, but to me, she's quite important because she shows that protection, that love and protection, and that it's all right to be a bit scary. It's all right to
Mm.
tell, like, it's
Mm.
all right, yeah, to accept that shadow side of you. But I also have
Mm.
behind me, if you can see him there, see it by my shoulder, I've got, or elbow here, my
Oh yeah,
thumbnail. Can you see
Yeah.
him
see
by
him.
my broom? I got
There
him
he is
there.
down there.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
he's on
Yeah.
my altar. Um, you know, um, I don't worship him or anything like I did back in the day, but who he is, very meaningful
What he
because
stood
I'm
for.
figuring out who
Mm.
he truly is. He's a person that has had, if you've had gossip about you and your reputation is fucking tarnished, he is the ultimate
Mm.
of that happening.
Mm. Mm. And people changing it into, we're getting political and religious now, and people changing it into ways that yeah. Well, it's
Serve
one of
them.
those things I'm actually
But we
quite,
do
I
it in the
get
spiritual
quite.
community with different things too. We
Yeah.
do. You
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
people that have they have an agenda.
All the
Yeah.
time. Not all the
Yeah.
So it's not
a
just
lot.
in Christianity. It's not just in
Yeah.
Christianity. It's in
Yeah.
anywhere that you can use your energy for power, right? If you
Yeah.
don't have
Yeah.
healing in your life, it's going to come out in one way or
Mm.
another. Not good.
And then that's the human being side of things, isn't it? That's the human being side of who we are rather than the spirit side, if you get my. Isn't it funny how it then crosses over, isn't it? So he's saying it's the human being experience, not the spirit experience. But then when people follow a very Christian background, to them that's very spiritual. But
Yeah.
it's not
And
when
there's
you
some
look at
aspects
it.
of it that are absolutely lovely. Does that make sense?
Mm,
But there's some
mm,
aspects that are, whew, they're way
mm,
off the
mm,
margin.
mm,
And
mm,
it's like we'll all come to spirituality in different ways. I believe science is eventually going to lead a lot of people to spirituality, but they're not going to realize it
mm,
spirituality in the sense that how we do, if that makes sense.
Mm.
But the more
mm,
more science is progressing, the more we see about like Colin's a science guy and stuff like that, the more they learn about energy and stuff like that, it it shows that there's something
mm.
powerful.
I think that's appealing. That's appealing to the people with a more logic mind. So
And
the
there are people that are in this lifetime and they're
minded,
born with a logic mind. That's part of their
yeah,
journey. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
and
when
they
people
need
talk
to
about energy.
see that in front.
I was going to say, when people talk about energy, I always think it makes me laugh a little bit, because they're like, well, you can't see energy. But if you get two pieces of like clear quartz crystal, if you get two of these, and if you go into a dark room and rub them together, you will see the sparks of energy. They'll glow. I don't know if you've ever tried that before, if you've ever done it.
No.
Oh no, I'm gonna have to go and try it now.
You do it, and you'll be able to rub it really hard, and it will literally, they'll glow and they'll spark off, and you can physically see the energy. So when people say, "Oh, there's no energy in a crystal," you can actually see it.
Yeah.
Well, what's in your watch? If you've got a watch, a quartz watch, it's quartz crystal in the watch.
Of course, yeah. So it's using
part
that
of the
energy
mechanism.
to create the magic, if you like, the magic of time, which is again orchestrated, man-made, to keep law and order down here, isn't it?
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah, it is. Yeah,
totally. Well,
you
want to know energy, stick a fork in a light socket and you'll feel some energy. Like
that's not recommended. Please don't do this at home.
Oh,
you'll have people blowing out that whole street because they said, Lucy says.
I just can't stand it. I must admit, when people are like, "Oh, I don't believe," and I'm like, "Oh my God, your cell phone is energy. Your mobile phone is energy." We've got there's so much energy around us at all times. We are literally how much water are we? 80% water. But
70.
Yeah, and then that's molecules, energy. Like it just. Yeah.
One thing that pisses me off quite a lot is when people say like, "Oh, I don't believe in like, multi-universes," but we're all having a multi-universe right now. We've all got our own independent life. Is that not multi-universal? It's like we're part of it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. We are part of it. I mean, the thing that always gets me is like when you talk about like we're obviously having this universal experience, but the thing that really blows my mind when we've spoken about the Matrix is like, there's got to be more out there, isn't there, than just us. And there's got I just wonder whether or not we'll ever get to the point in our in this sort of human lifespan, whether or not we'll find a way to get to them or energetically be in touch with other universes. And
I don't know if we're going to do it in our lifetime, but it's coming. It's coming. I really feel it's coming. Like something that Spirit showed me yesterday, that is blowing my mind, and I want to. It's blowing my mind, but I want to get deeper into it. Was how we like Callie and like when people pass over and we almost like have this awe of them and angels, this awe of angels and stuff like that. We're equal. Spirit showed me we're all equal. There's no higher or lower. Actually, in spiritual terms, we're the ones here on earth, us that have chosen this bodily form of the energy for this lifetime, are the ones that are considered the bravest.
I could understand that, because I've always felt like Earth is a living hell, like, or it's a preparation for something better.
Yeah, and that's why they help us. But we sit there in awe of them, and like, don't get me wrong, but they're in awe of us, and that's why they help us. And that's I really felt it that it was all equal. That and no matter what you are on this earth, you are equal. We've all chosen different forms of expressing that all-loving energy. And some people's DNA and Spirit showed it to me. It's hard to put into words intricately when the energy enters the body, this genetic body that I've picked of genetics that we are now discovering, DNA and all that kind of stuff. The energy comes in and it expresses itself through very intricate ways of my 3D energy. So some people picked a life. They were energy with us that wasn't very good. Do you know what I'm saying? And that energy got expressed in a very low vibrational, grotesque earthly way, but they come from that. Does that make sense? They're part of the story.
Yeah,
That
no, it
we're
does
the
make sense.
story. That we're the story. Do we have to like them?
Mm.
No. Do you know what I'm saying? We don't, and we don't have to agree with them, but they play out a story that brings more light to the world by, if it was all light,
Yeah, there would be nothing to be doing, would there?
yeah.
Mm.
And so they
Just
bring
to
the
say, guys, what
contrast. Oh,
we're on the Witcher now.
I went way on a
Are
rabbit hole
we?
there,
We're on
you
the
guys.
Witcher now
Sorry.
already.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, I mean, that would go, you're talking about, I know we're in the witching hour, but I got this thing about holistic fairs. I was just about to sort of say about, is it because, there's a question for you, is it because the fact that we are all, not just us three, but a lot more people are more aware of us being spirit beings having a human experience? So, um, is that why there's more access to spiritual fairs, or is it the fact that they've just become popular? Do you get my
I think
gist?
Well, I think two go hand
I
in
think
hand. The
Mhm.
more
I think some
access,
people
the
are
more the
wanting to
popular.
access. Yeah, I think some people are wanting to access a higher version of life, and others are just curious, aren't they? Perhaps.
And I think the
Mm.
woo-woo is dissipating, which I'm happy about. I like a little bit of woo-woo. Don't get me wrong, but you know what I'm saying? Some people are turned off by the thought of woo-woo, and actually the woo-woo is becoming more mainstream, and they'll be able to prove things. Like a lot of things that were considered woo-woo 20 years ago are now used in hospitals.
Yeah.
Like I think in Brighton they use Reiki. They actually have like Reiki people that are hired by the
Yeah, you're seeing
NHS
that
to
quite
do
a lot.
Reiki in hospitals in Brighton and stuff. When that
Yeah.
20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago would have been considered woo-woo, but people, they're seeing
Mm.
that energy and perception and raising people's vibrations and all that is extremely healing. Joe Dispenza, I don't follow him loyally, but I know that he has brought a lot of what we believe in into the kind of
Mm.
like scientific world, you
Mm.
know? And
So
so
that
the
that
woo-woo
that
is
movement of,
disappearing
yeah.
and
So that
people feel more
movement of,
comfortable.
yeah.
Woo woo is actually one of my favourite cocktails. Just to let you know, guys.
Cock?
Do you know,
Oh, tails. Sorry.
I was sat,
Sorry,
I was
Mitch.
sat here thinking, I think you're going to have to explain what woo woo is, because if somebody's tuned in and hasn't listened to a previous podcast, they'll be going, "What the chuff is woo woo?"
Well, I
Like
know it.
out there
It's a
weirdos.
cheeky little vodka with peach schnapps in it. uh,
But yeah, I
I
think that
love
it's
it.
becoming more mainstream.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I mean, I remember sort of starting on my spiritual path, sort of being more serious about 20 years ago, and everybody sort of saying, oh, it's coming, there's a next shift of people. And when you get to that stage of, is it because it's like switching your light on, isn't it? Is your fly trap, is it because I'm more aware and I'm watching more, or is it because it's genuinely happening? And it is genuinely happening, isn't it? It is
Yeah.
generally, there is more out there. There is,
Astrologically, we're moving into the
it's
age of
moving.
Aquarius, which is partially about this kind of stuff, the unity of
Yeah.
one, people being, all that kind of stuff. Do I like, there's a part of me that likes being alternative and a bit odd. So when I see people going mainstream, there's this, and I'm honest about it inside myself, there's this part of me that goes, oh, I just want to keep it to myself. But then that's not the purpose of it, because I actually want to affect people's lives and bring light into people's lives, which would
Yeah.
make it
Yeah.
mainstream. So it's like this dichotomy. But a lot of people, I think they join being a witch and enjoy it because it is a bit an alternative. It gives them a kind of an identity, you know. But the reality is that we're each individuals and each have an identity,
Mm,
and a
mm,
witch is just a label that society has put on it.
mm, mm. Oh, well, again, yeah, as we were talking about previous, to put a name and a tag and an identity on it so that they can haul you in and get paid for it and drown you.
Yeah. Well, we
Hurrah.
like definitions. I like definitions. I do, because it gives me safety. From my background, definitions give me safety. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's the cough of let's go.
We're rambling again.
Let's wrap it up, Mitches.
Yeah.
Let's wrap it up. Otherwise, we could just keep going.
I saw him texting, and I'm like, Mitch is like, he's done. He's like, I've spent enough of my energy with these fuckers here. I'm off.
His
Okay, Mitch is not like
husband's
that.
probably going, "You coming out for lunch?" And you go, "Yeah, I can't shut the girls up."
No, not at all. Not at all.
Oh well,
dear.
what a ramble!
Yeah,
But I
let's
think it was
round it
good.
up.
I feel really light. Yeah, let's round it up. It's awesome. Well, bye from me. Lots of love and light.
See you guys soon.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye for now.